Welcome to the Women Inspired Podcast. I'm your host, April Seifert. There is nothing more powerful than a woman who is inspired to action, and that's my number one goal, to inspire you, my listeners, to take action in your lives. Each week, I get to interview some of the most inspiring women, and I'm bringing those interviews to you. Let's do it. Well, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Women Inspired Podcast. I'm your host, April Seifert, and I am so excited for you to meet a wonderful woman today. She is a wellness expert, she is an entrepreneur, and she has an amazing story to tell about her new exciting venture. I'm so excited to welcome Julie Burton to the podcast. Welcome!
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So I have to set the stage a little bit for you guys. If you're listening to this, we are sitting in the basement of a building that is under construction that is soon to be a beautiful, beautiful space. And we are legit sitting on some stairs and some shelving, and my microphone is on a microwave and we are recording. And I just think it's wonderful because I can totally envision what this space is about to look like as she renovates it and turns it into this master plan that she's got. But I think it's awesome that we got to be here at the very beginning. So had to set the stage for you guys. But before I get too ahead of myself, Julie, tell us a little bit about yourself and help us get to know you before we dive in.
Well, first of all, thank you for your patience with the scene here on the floor with the microwave as our coffee table. But yes, we are in the building stage of ModernWell, and I came to develop this project and this business over a very long period of time. As I was in the fitness and wellness industry for decades as an instructor at Lifetime Fitness, at Core Power, way back in the day at the sweatshop in Minneapolis, and have always had a strong sense of wanting to help women, especially women, empower themselves, both physically and emotionally. And I started the Twin Cities Writing Studio about 3 years ago as a writer and needing and wanting a writing community to be a part of. And so that is kind of, I have the health and wellness part of my being, and then I have the writing part. And also my work as an author of the Self-Care Solution, I interviewed 400 plus women and found that there was a universal kind of need for women to connect, and that there's a lot of feelings of isolation that women and mothers feel. And I for sure felt that as a young mother raising 4 kids. So I sort of took all my passions, the writing, the wellness, the need for women in community, and put it all into ModernWell. And originally, when I started on this journey to develop this space, my original name for it was The Well. And the vision was that it was almost like biblical references of women literally standing around the well with their buckets. And every woman needs something different in their bucket to fill themselves up. And just having this sort of communal space where you come to the well and sort of take what you need, give to the other people in the community, and just create this really supportive environment where women can thrive, and that we can support each other and grow and develop as individuals and as a community. I call my life, my path, just a lot of zigging and zagging and a lot of doing a lot of different things, but I feel like this is sort of like I've kind of landed. I never in a million years envisioned myself necessarily here. I knew that I had an entrepreneurial spirit in me. My father and both my parents were entrepreneurs, and so I had that sort of independent spirit, and I'm not afraid to take risks. And but this is just really a culmination of all of my passion, and it really is a dream come true to be sitting in the basement.
the microwave.
With the microwave. Yeah.
That is beautiful. Okay. So you mentioned ModernWell a number of times. I love the story behind the brand. I can totally picture it. When you said I originally wanted to call it The Well, I'm like, I know exactly where you're going. I know exactly the mental image you have. Oh my gosh, I love it. Tell us a little bit about what you envision this space to be. Like, who comes here? What do they do when they're here? What's offered here? Like, tell us about the whole gamut, because again, truth be told, I just took a tour of this, space that's being renovated, and you can completely see what this is going to turn into. And I'm so excited for all of you to hear about what this vision is.
Yeah, thanks. So I see this as a place where women walk in and immediately feel celebrated. Like, that is like the word that it's kind of like when you walk into a place, even sometimes at the gym, and you take a class regularly, and you walk in and people, hi April, how are you doing? I want women to walk in here and just feel that their spirit just lifts wherever they are, even if they're having a really bad day, even if something's going on in their life, that they come into this community and this actual space. I've been very intentional about how I'm creating the space, from the design to the furniture to the colors, to the fabrics, to the feel of everything, that it's soft and it's warm and it's inspiring and it's cozy and inviting. And I want women to walk in and feel inspired, excited to be here for themselves and for the people who they're going to see here. And so it's, as I showed you, as we walked through the space, you're walking into a cooperative shared workspace, right? So there's soft seating, there's comfortable chairs, there's recliners, there's coffee shop kind of seating where there's a table for two or table for four. You can have private conversations. You can have conversations with a couple, 2 or 3 colleagues or friends. I created the space so that it has multi uses. So you can work completely independently if women need a place to go to just do their work. There are lots of sort of nooks and places that women can go and be sort of by themselves and work independently. And then there's sort of the water cooler kind of effect, where there's kind of longer tables where people can sit and talk and have lunch or coffee or tea and talk and brainstorm and support one another in their work, in their creativity. And then we have the conference room, which will hold all of our writing classes. We're doing a lot of lunch and learns, workshops, coffee talks, and then the overall space, there'll be lots of events here and happiness hours. And so I see it really as a space where women can kind of check all of their boxes, right? They can work, they can relax, they can be with people, they can be alone in the wellness room. They can go in the wellness room and close the door and close their eyes and just really check out. They can go down to the lower level and take a yoga class, take a meditation class. They can really just, my work has been about self-care. My book is about self-care. And this space, I want women to be able to check every self-care box, or maybe not every, but a lot of them. So that's what I'm trying to create.
That's so awesome. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
My heart was just bursting because, so I have a 2-year-old little girl, and the way that I think about my life these days, and I have an amazingly supportive husband. He's wonderful, but his work schedule is crazy. So he's gone a lot of evenings on shifts, overnight on shifts, days. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to it. So in order to impose some kind of structure in my life, I really structure my work, my workouts, my self-care, my errands, my everything around the days, like the time during the day when she is in daycare, the days that she goes, and I try to fit everything from a full life into that amount of time.
Yes.
And essentially what you're creating is a way to do the majority of that all under one roof and have it all sort of morph and flow into one another. And that's not how we think about life right now. We think in more compartmentalized ways. Like, here's where I go to work, and that's a separate place than where I go to yoga, and that's a separate place from where I have community, and that's a separate place from where my friends are, and that's, I see this really interesting like meld of all of those things together under this roof.
Yes, I love that. I love the morphing and flowing. It's so true, because if a person is here and working for 5, 6, 7 hours, okay, it would be great if there could be some movement incorporated into those 7 hours, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, there's a noon 45-minute yoga flow class. So great. You don't have to get in your car, and it's 20 below and go to the gym, right? To do that. You can just walk downstairs. You are just in need of some enrichment. Oh, well, there's a 10 o'clock coffee talk where a pediatrician is going to come in and talk about how to deal with anxiety in your kids, or how to. So you're right. It just, you can be here in this space and get so many of your needs and wants met. And I think for women, we feel so pulled all the time, and our time is so valuable. So if this can be a place of efficiency, where you can get so much more done in this one space than if you're running. I even am looking at having a grocery service, having, or meals delivered here. So literally you can leave here, you've gotten your work done, you've had a couple great conversations with some incredible women, you've exercised, and now you're going to have your dinner brought here. So you go home and you are like full. Like you're not coming home depleted. You're coming home full, so that you can go home and be a partner, a mother, a friend, whatever you need to be when you go home, and your cup is full. Instead of going home like, oh my gosh, I haven't worked out, I haven't gone to the grocery store, what am I going to make for dinner? Are
you reading my mind from yesterday?
Trust me, it's years of being there that
oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. I'm exhausted. Yeah, no, and I want that. I want that for women. I want that for all of us. So that's what I'm trying to give. That's what I want ModernWell to be for people.
I like it so much. Okay, I want to back up to something you said a little bit ago, because this is something I'm very, very passionate about. You said very clearly and very confidently, I'm not afraid to take risks. I think that's probably something that about 5% of the population would actually say, as clearly as you did. Like, maybe people might think it, but they might not say it out loud, or maybe they don't believe it about themselves, or maybe they aren't afraid, or like maybe they aren't willing to take risks. You said it so clearly, and I absolutely believe you. Tell me a little bit about that. Where did that come from? Have you always been brave in that way?
So, okay, I'll just back up and just to kind of revisit that statement. So I can't say with complete I am afraid to take risks. I don't let the fear stop me, I guess.
How do you do that?
Okay. So I think because I have been through a lot we all have our stories that we bring to the table, but I have seen some pretty dark days in my life. I battled a very severe eating disorder in my late teens and was hospitalized actually twice.
Wow.
I have battled anxiety and depression, and have seen some really, really tough times in my life where I have thought, I don't even know if I can get through not even another day, but in another hour. And so I think what has happened to me over my life is I've realized how fragile all of it is and how essential it is that we just say, you know what, I'm just going to try this. And the worst, I've been to the bottom. I have been to the bottom of the barrel. And if I try this and I fail, okay, I know that I can get back up again. I know that I have amazing support. I have a family, my husband, super supportive, 4 kids. I have beautiful, amazing friends that will, if I fall on my face, if I take this risk and I fall on my face, I have to do this. I have to do it. It is my everything, every ounce of my being is screaming that I have to do this. Am I scared every day? Yes. But do I talk to that fear and say, yep, okay, what's the worst thing that happens? You fail, you lose money, then can I recover from that? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. And I have failed in my life. I have taken risks that haven't worked out, but I have also taken risks that have. And I don't think it's that we don't feel the fear. I think it's that we stare that fear down big time and we say, okay, fear, are you going to actually hold me back? Are you going to keep me hostage to doing what I'm dreaming? Or am I going to just have a conversation with you every single day and say, you know what, you need to move aside because I have stuff to do. And I try to do that every day. It's hard though, but I really have a lot of conversations with myself. So that's how I deal with the fear piece.
That's wonderful. And I brought it up because it's something I'm so passionate about, because it's the factor that holds so many people back from doing so many things, not just entrepreneurial things, interpersonal things, hobbies. I mean, learning something new, speaking their mind, taking up space in the world. It holds us back from so many things. And I love to talk to people about how they manage their relationship with fear. And as of yet, I've talked to dozens of people through this podcast and through, other digital entrepreneurial things. Not a single person has ever said, "Oh yeah, I'm not afraid at all." Like legit, I'm not afraid. Everyone says the same thing. I'm terrified. I'm afraid. And here's how I move forward anyway, in spite of the fact that I am.
Yeah, and I think I have spent a lot of time in the fear and going the other way with the fear and letting the fear control me in a way that was not positive and was not constructive. And so I know that feeling really well of letting fear dictate what I'm going to do and what I'm going to say and how I'm going to be in this world. And I was so miserable in that space of living fearfully that, I'm a huge Brene Brown, I've read everything she's right next to my bedside and her books. But it's just having those conversations and realizing like, hi, this is the fear. This is my fear that's talking. But I can grapple with it. I can look at it. I can look at where it's coming from. And for me, it's always, and for most people, I think it's always about failing is the fear, right? Is what does that fear come? Where does that come from? It's, am I good enough? Who am I to do this?
Are you reading my mind?
Right? Who am I to think? Who am I to think that I could pull this off? How dare I think that I'm capable or strong and it's just really looking at that and saying, you know what? I am me. I have this goal. I have this mission. I'm going to try it. And I'm going to kind of hold fear's hand and just walk with it every day and say, okay, this is what we're doing. This is how we're going to keep moving forward. But I think fear can be crippling, and it can also be an advisor in terms of just keeping things in check in a positive way sometimes, because we do, as entrepreneurs, we do have to, we are putting a lot on the line. We can't make, I feel a lot of responsibility in terms of how I approach my business, and I don't make any kind of crazy assumptions. That I try to be very intentional about what I'm doing. And sometimes the fear can be a guide to be a little bit more cautious, which again can be a blessing and a curse. It's hard to know when that fear is like, okay, yeah, actually, you know what? You probably shouldn't, do X, Y, Z or whatever in your business, because that wouldn't be a smart thing to do. Not that I'm afraid I'm going to fail, but it can be a regulator. So I think it's fear has all sorts of different purposes. I think for us, it's not always bad. I think sometimes it pops up because we need it to pop up. And if something is dangerous, like really dangerous, like if I'm going to make a really irresponsible decision with my business, with my family, with my marriage, then it's like, okay, yeah, actually, that fear is telling me something that I do need to listen to. We sometimes want to, I just want to bust through my fear, and yes, and we have to do that, but we also sometimes do have to listen to it. And sometimes it is trying to tell us something that we do need to pay attention to.
Yeah. I want to float an idea by you. So something that I've been sort of grappling with in my mind around the idea of fear, you mentioned people are afraid of failure. Mm-hmm. And then you also mentioned the notion of, who am I to be doing this, right? And to me, with the data background that I have, I immediately see a graph. I can't help it. But the way that I almost see it is, on the left side of this graph is this heightened sense of fear where you have absolutely failed. Like, I almost see this U-shaped relationship. So on the left side, again, you've absolutely failed, and there's this huge heightened sense of fear. On the right side of the graph, and here's where I think it's really interesting, you are a wild and crazy success. And I think there's a lot of fear that comes with that, because holy crap, now people are going to see me. They're going to see what I did. I'm actually going to be out there and responsible for this venture, this content, this message, this something. And there's going to be a lot of eyes on me if I succeed. And I feel like the comfort zone for people is that middle part of mediocrity, where you're able to be comfortable and nice because maybe you haven't failed. And so you're not, there's no negative identity pieces with that. But there's also not a big watchful eye on you from the public or from a wider range of people than you're used to. Interested in your thoughts about that.
For sure. I think people are as equally afraid of succeeding as they are of failing, because exactly what you said, that if you're succeeding and your business, whatever you're doing, takes off, then all of a sudden, like you said, all eyes are on you, and then you're even more susceptible to criticism, right? So people want to kind of tear you down, or they're even more critical of what you're doing and what you're thinking and why you're doing it, and so, yeah, I definitely would admit that sometimes I am afraid of success and afraid to be in that public eye and be have all eyes on me. I definitely fall into sometimes just wanting to be a little bit more under the radar, which I think there is. Well, I'm still trying to figure this out, so I'll let you know how this goes. But what I'm hoping is that I am really hoping that ModernWell is a huge success. I am putting every ounce of my being into making it very successful. I, for myself, want to, throughout the whole process, regardless if what happens, what the outcome is, to just stay really connected with my vision, my mission, and to be authentic. And if it is, majorly successful, and ModernWell is in every city around the country, which would be amazing, I just want to stay true to myself and to the mission of the space. And because the mission is not about one person and its success. The mission of ModernWell is about the success of everybody who is part of ModernWell. So it could never be necessarily like Julie Burton, this sort of the icon, because that's not what this space is. This space is me providing an actual brick and mortar space where women, all of us, can be successful and can make their dreams come true and build their businesses and grow their presence and grow their confidence, so that if ModernWell is successful, it means we're all successful. And so that is what I just keep in mind through all of this. So to me, the measure of success is not personal. It's more the women of ModernWell and what we're all doing and how we're all rising. That's what I'm so excited about.
Do you ever get the question of why you focused only on women for this space, and how do you answer that?
Yes. I've got some funny jokes that have come from men in my life who are actually really mad that they can't be here. Sorry. The question is a good one, and I actually sort of went back and forth initially with whether I wanted it to be an all-women space. And I decided that it needed to be because, as we talked about earlier, that the tide of women needs to still rise. And I think that there is a freedom that women feel when we're together. It's like when you think about like a girls' night out or a girls' weekend, right? There's some kind of energy that happens when it's all women. And I mean, I've been happily married for 25 years. I have 2 sons. I have tons of male friends. I love men. It's not that. It's just, I think women, we just need to be kind of digging down deep and really focusing on what makes us tick as women. And I think we need to do that in the presence of other women.
It's interesting. The place that my mind went to as you were describing that was the research on girls when I'd have to look it up to get this perfectly right. So Google, and I'm going to be maybe 70% of the way there, 75% of the way there. Girls, when they're 8 to 10 to 12 to 14, I mean, in that range where you start to see a decline in self-confidence, a decline in math and science, aptitude and interest. And where that doesn't happen as sharply is when girls go to all-girls schools.
Interesting.
So they're in this community where there's no longer, they have a safe place in their day. Now, obviously they're out in society and like the same pressures are there and they're in a, environment with men and boys as well. But that safe place during school, they raise their hands more. They answer questions more confidently. Like I said, STEM subjects are much more of interest to these girls.
Yes.
Because they're in an environment where they don't feel as intense of pressure to make themselves small to fit in or be liked or whatever. And I feel like this is the adult embodiment yes. of this, supportive all girls school.
Yeah, that is so true. And what's interesting for me personally is that I grew up, I had some tough times with girl relationships and even women relationships as I've, matured and that I had more of a competitive sort of my personality I was a competitive gymnast and went to a very competitive private school, high school, and I didn't do very well actually with the girlfriend, women friend thing for a really, really long time. And I I missed out. I missed the boat on a lot of what could have been really amazing friendships and just trusting relationships with women, girls and women. Because of some of my own insecurities, I came to a lot of the relationships with a more competitive take. And after learning what really, having some unbelievable women friends in my life that have taught me what trust between women really looks like and really feels like, and being a part of these writing groups that I've been running with a writer friend of mine for the last 3 years. The magic that has happened with the women around our writing table over the last couple years has been unbelievable. I mean, companies have been started, books have been written. Breakthroughs have happened that just I don't think any of us would have imagined. Including ModernWell, because ModernWell started from when I was running these writing groups and feeling like I wanted to take that feeling that we had around the table with these women and make it bigger and make it more accessible to not just writers, but to entrepreneurs, to scientists, to any woman who just wants to expand their mind and their creativity. So I feel especially grateful for this because I think that as a girl and a young woman, I missed this. I really missed this woman community thing, and I'm so grateful to have that and to be able to share it now.
Yeah, that competition piece that you mentioned, I think if all of us are really honest with each other, I think we all went through that at some point in our lives, whether it's now, whether it was when we were younger, whether it's been constant in our lives. There's, I think if we're all honest, we've all had a stint in that mindset.
Yeah. I think, and there's healthy competition, right?
Sure.
There's like, okay, let's you do good and I do good and you do good, and that's great. But then there's the competition that's like, are you better than me? Is there something wrong with me? Why are you better than me? Why are you having success and I'm not? I mean, there's...
And that somehow they're correlated because your success means my failure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, no, not that.
So let's get really practical here. I want you to talk directly to my audience. If they're in the mindset where they say, I have a family, I have a job, I have responsibilities in my home, there's all these things that I need to be doing, I feel guilty and selfish for taking care of myself, for engaging in self-care, whatever that might be for that person's definition of what self-care is. Talk to that woman right now.
Okay, yes. So in my research for the self-care solution, a Modern Mothers Must Have Guide to Health and Well-Being, which is a book that I wrote and published in 2016, that is the mom who I am talking to. And basically, what I try to get this mom, and we've all been there, because I know I really battled with the guilt and the trying to create the boundaries that I needed to take care of myself and didn't always do a very good job. But I think what we have to, and I've tried lots of different ways to explain this, and even with myself, but I think the best way that I found for moms to really understand it at kind of a cellular level is to think about when you see your kid, okay, because we love our kids and we want the best for our kids. So what do we want for our kids? What is the most important thing that we want for our kids as we're raising our kids? We want them to be good people. We want them to be kind and generous. But really what we want and what we're trying to do as mothers is to raise our children so that they can take care of themselves. So they can take good care of themselves. So they are making good choices. So they're not, they're the ones that can say, no, I'm not going to do drugs. because it's not good for me.
Wow.
I'm gonna feed myself with healthy foods because my body, it's important to take care of my body. I'm gonna take time for myself to go for a walk or a run or whatever, because that's good for me, because that's what, if we really, because I think that is just the most fundamental way to explain it to people, because what we are trying to do as mothers in raising our kids is we want our kids to be able to take care of themselves in a way that they're going to be healthy and happy throughout their lives.
Yep.
So why, as mothers now, do we decide that we shouldn't do that for ourselves? That's what we're trying to do with our children. So it really, especially like as a scientist, right? It doesn't make sense.
Right.
It does not make sense. So if we just turn that around, turn the mirror around, and say, oh yeah, actually, I want my kid to be healthy and happy throughout his or her life. And so actually, that I want that for myself too. And so that has been and I've had to use that for myself too. And even in talking to the kids when, oh, mommy, please don't go meet your girlfriend for dinner. I want to be with you. Don't you love being with your friends? Aren't you so excited when you get to go be with your friends? And it makes you so, well, that's how mommy feels sometimes. Mommy needs to go and have a play date because that, or, whatever age they are. But to take everything that we're trying to create in our children, healthy habits, and turn it back on ourselves. Oh, yeah, actually, kids need time alone. Yeah. Oh, so does mom. Mom needs time with her friends. Mom needs time with her partner. Mom needs to exercise. Mom needs to eat well. Mom needs to do things, to have fun, to laugh, to do, So to me, because I've been doing this work for a really long time, and I speak about it, I do workshops, and I think that is just hits home with most moms, that just what we want in our children, turn that back around and put that right back on yourself.
You gotta love yourself as much as you love them.
Yes.
Holy cow.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. They're not going to always, they grow up, and we say this and it's so cliche, but having two kids who have left the house, one's a junior in college and one actually has graduated from college. And then I have two at home, a 16-year-old and 13-year-old. It really goes fast. And they really, really do look to us for how to take care of themselves. They really do. And we can tell them all day long, take care of yourself, but they're going to turn and they're going to look at you. How does mom take care of herself? What does that even mean? I want to see it. I want to feel it. And they're taking notes. And so we have to be the living, breathing example of what self-care looks like. And we can't just talk the talk. We have to walk the walk for them. And it's the best possible thing we can do for them. If they can see a living, breathing person who is taking care of herself or himself, it's like, oh, yeah, that's what self-care looks like. I want to be like that. So it's
Absolutely.
a gift. It's a gift. We think we're taking something from them. We're actually giving something to them.
I love it. Okay, I guarantee people are going to want to know where to find you. Tell us where we can learn more about you, learn more about the work you've done, learn more about ModernWell. Where can we find you?
Thank you. Yeah. So my personal blog is juliebburton.com, 2 B's, juliebburton.com. And I'm on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Julie B. Burton.
All the things.
And then ModernWell, if you're a Minneapolis, Minnesota person and would love to come be a part of a community of women, I would love to have you. You can find out about us on modernwell.co and on Instagram, Twitter, at modernwellco. C-O.
I love it. All right, I have one final question for you. It is the question I ask every single person that I interview. We are putting together a Spotify Power playlist of songs that are motivational in some way for the women who listen to this podcast. Maybe they need to get themselves into a more upbeat state. Maybe they need something to relax. Maybe whatever it may be. So I need to ask you for your contribution to our motivational playlist.
Okay, it's a little bit of a downer, but I'm just really obsessed with this song lately. Kesha's Praying. I just, for so many reasons, I love her song, her new song. It's just empowering, and it's about women telling their stories, which I think is, even the painful ones, we have to tell our stories. So yeah, definitely Kesha's Praying. And then I'm a little, I love Alicia Keys' This Girl's on Fire.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I mean, just gotta go there. And yeah, I would say those two.
That's wonderful. I can't thank you enough. I mean, this has been amazing. It's been incredible to hear your story. It's been incredible to hear the journey you've taken to get to this point. And I literally can look around and see what this place is going to be when it's finished. So I'm really excited for you. And what's the timeline? What does it look like?
So we open our doors January 2nd.
What?
I know. We've got some work to do, right? As you're seeing wires hanging from the ceiling, and yeah, but we'll get there. We're working hard.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story. It's been wonderful.
Thank you, April. Wonderful to talk with you.
Well, hey guys, since I had the chance to sit down with Julie to record her interview, I am thrilled to tell you that ModernWell has opened for business. It is no longer the work-in-progress building that I visited for our recording, where we sat in the basement and recorded sitting on top of a microwave. It is the exact opposite. It's a bright, airy, beautiful space filled with the most incredible energy. So if you are in Minneapolis, I highly suggest you reach out for a tour. You can find the link to ModernWell on the show notes page for this episode at aprilseifert.com. If you're a female entrepreneur in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, you owe it to yourself to check this place out. It is incredible. Now, we just had the most beautiful conversation with Julie. What I was so impressed with her is how openly she shared her story. I mean, she talked about struggles that she's had with eating disorders, struggles that she's had with relating to other women. We talked about risk and fear and doing difficult, challenging things like opening a new business and doubting yourself and how she gets beyond that. And if there's one thing I need to do immediately, is applaud Julie for how open and vulnerable and authentic she was in this interview. Ultimately, when we open ourselves up and we share how we're feeling and the things that we're struggling with, and really share with other people what our real life looks like, it gives people permission to do the same. And so I have to applaud Julie for doing that, because ultimately it gives us all permission to show up authentically and talk about our own authentic stories. Something that was super cool that Julie talked about was this conversation she has with herself. Each day, she has this conversation with fear. And a question she asks herself is, okay, let's say that I fail miserably. Can I recover from that failure? And her answer is always yes. Like, I'm going to find my way out of it. One way or the other. It might be difficult, but I'm going to find my way out of it. And that is beautiful. It's amazing for her to have said things like, when she's letting fear get inside her head, she's hearing herself question herself and asking things like, am I good enough? Who am I to do this? How dare I think that I'm capable of this? And I will absolutely raise my hand and say that on a weekly basis, those questions pop into my head. April, who are you to think that you can tackle some of these big goals that you're working on? Who are you to think that you can get inside people's ears once a week and try to share this information that you're discovering? Like, who are you to be doing this? It was just beautiful the way that Julie shared this conversation she has with fear. And ultimately, she looks fear in the eye and she says, I see you, you're there. You need to step aside because I have important work to do and I'm going to do it in spite of the fact that you're here. I love that so much. And also, I love the idea that she talked about the whole premise behind ModernWell. And that's that we have the need for very well-rounded lives. We as women in particular, which is why she's focusing on women with her business, and it's why I focus on women with the work that I'm doing. I 100% agree with her that adore men who succeed, who have amazing goals. I will cheer them on just as loudly as I'll cheer on any woman. But I have a special place in my heart and intimately understand women who have experienced some of the difficulties that we uniquely experience. And I just feel compelled to help rise that tide, similar to Julie. I love that the idea behind ModernWell was this is a place that you can come and you can fill your cup in all of these different areas. You can hit all of these different facets of life that are so important. You can kill it at your job at that place. You can get inspired from other amazing women and build a tribe at that place. You can take care of your health at that place. You can take care of your family. You can breastfeed. You can order healthy meals and be ready to go home the most full, vibrant version of yourself. Whether you have access to a place like that, that ultimately is what we should all strive for during our day. How do we make time for some of these things that help fill our cup up? And I don't know where it came from, the point that I made during the interview. It just popped into my head, but it's resonated with me since then. We need to love ourselves as much as we love the other people in our lives who we give our time to. We give up time that we could be using to help fill our cups so that when we come home to be in those relationships, we're there fully. We give up time that allows us to do that. And we need to love ourselves as much as we love the people in our lives, our kids, our partners, our spouses, our close friends. And Julie made a beautiful point of saying, not only are you doing this for you, but two, you're doing it for your kids. You're showing them what it looks like to take care of yourself. We want our kids to be healthy and take care of themselves. When I look at my daughter, I think to myself, I want you to make healthy choices and understand what a gift that your health is and celebrate yourself and do things that challenge you and do things that fill you up. I want her to do those things and I need to show her how. I loved that part of our conversation. The last thing that I'm going to hit on is we didn't use this word in our interview, but ultimately it boils down to this. The notion of tribe, the notion of women lifting each other up. Julie was so open and talking about how in the past, she's had a very competitive relationship with other women. This is not uncommon. Almost every one of us can probably pinpoint at least a small part of our lives where we've been in the same situation. We look at these relationships with other women as though they're a zero-sum game, meaning as soon as somebody else wins or gains something, that means I'm losing something. And that is not how it works. If someone else is beautiful, that doesn't make you less attractive. If someone else succeeds in their job, that doesn't mean that you're failing. If someone else baked homemade something or other for their kid, that doesn't mean that you're doing a bad job. We're all walking our own independent path. And that's something that I've worked really hard on cultivating, that mindset, over the last handful of years. And it's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this podcast, because I want women to get their butts on this podcast and talk about the amazing accomplishments that they have made, because it doesn't take away from anything that I'm doing and it doesn't take away from anything that you're doing. If anything, it rises the tide for all of us and it lifts all boats. So I loved that part of the conversation as well. I just adored this. As I was listening to this conversation back and thinking about what I wanted to recap for you guys, I just found myself just thrilled with everything that we talked about during this interview. And I'm so excited that you had the chance to meet Julie through this interview on this podcast. I do hope you'll check out Modern Well. I hope you'll use some of the lessons that we talked about in this podcast to make improvements in your lives and take yourself seriously. Start giving yourself the things that you need. Before we close out today, I want to say thank you to my producer, Cameron Hill. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone else who might benefit from this content. And if you have a moment, click the link in the episode description to leave me a rating and a review on iTunes. It would mean so much to me. Finally, if you're ready to start making changes in your life to align your day with your goals and your values and what fills you up, I have a free tool to help you get started. Sign up at aprilseifert.com to get immediate access to my free Life by Design life blueprinting tool. I designed this tool using theory from the fields of psychology and design thinking, and it will absolutely help you get clear on the areas of your life that are serving you and those that aren't. Clarity is a critical first step before you can design your own best life. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Until next time, have an inspiring week.